Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This video covers interdependence. So interdependence is the relationship living things have with each other to survive. So you might be thinking like, yeah, when my friend and I are playing Fortnite and we're like surviving so we can get that victory at the end. Um, yeah, it's nothing like that actually. What it is like is it describes the relationship between different species. So for that to be correct, you'd have to be playing Fortnite with your dog, and we kind of know how that's going to end. There are different types of interdependence. And as a side note, in biology, interdependence is very much linked to symbiosis, as symbiosis is the most prominent or general idea of interdependence. And just like interdependence, it also describes a long term relationship between two or more biologically different organisms, so different species, where at least one organism benefits. Um, so there are different types of interdependence, and just so we know, so there's no confusion, when I in it says symbiosis here, but I also mean interdependence. In this video, they're kind of interchangeable, meaning they mean the same thing. So the first one, or the first type of interdependence we're looking at, is mutualism. Mutualism describes a relationship where both organisms benefit, so it's a win-win. An example of mutualism is the plover bird and the crocodile. This little guy sitting inside the jaws of a crocodile um, is actually winning in this situation. He's winning because he gets the food, he gets to pick the food out of the crocodile's teeth, so he gets in a meal, right? And in return, the crocodile gets free dental care because the meat inside his teeth are cleaned out, so it prevents any infection caused by the bacteria that might be in that rotting meat. Another example is the bees and flowering plants. This bee is actually only here for one thing, and that's the nectar that this flower is producing. The nectar is full of sugar, which bees use to make honey, and the flower gets pollinated in return. So the flower is helped with its reproduction so that it can make seeds and then further increase its own species population. Then we have the clownfish and the sea anemone as another example of mutualism. In this case, the clownfish is getting protection from the sea anemone. The tentacles of the sea anemone have stingers at the end that can deliver a nasty sting to any animal that wanders too close to its tentacles. So the clownfish is protected, and in return, the sea anemone gets to eat the poop of the clownfish. You might be judging it now, but actually, there's quite a bit of nutrition in poop that goes unused. So, you know, to each to his own. Right, there are different. Oh, sorry. And then the next one we're looking at is commensalism. Commensalism is a type of relationship that describes, um, it describes a relationship where one organism benefits and the other organism gets nothing. So nothing happens to the other organism, nothing bad, nothing good, just it doesn't get anything out of the relationship, only one does. An example of that is the buffalo and the egret. The egrets are these birds of here. They get food in this situation because they're just waiting for the buffalo to walk and scare up any frogs or insects that might be in the tall grass that they can't see. And in return, the buffalo gets nothing. Nothing bad, nothing good. It just lives its life. But the birds get food out of this relationship. Another one is the whales and the barnacles. These weird things, growths growing from the whale, are actually living things. They're a sort of crustacean that like locks onto the whale's skin and stays there for its entire life. Um, they basically rely on the fact that the whale can move and eat, and so as the whale moves and eats around, eats its food, the pieces that the whale doesn't eat, they get to eat as it passes past the whale. So they get food in this situation, and the whale doesn't get any harm, or doesn't get harmed, or doesn't get a benefit at all. All right, the third type of interdependence we're looking at is competition. Competition is kind of like what it sounds. In this case, it's two organisms or organisms that are competing with each other. um, usually in the same ecosystem, well, always in the same ecosystem for food, or usually for food or for shelter or for some kind of resource to keep them for their survival, right? Important for their survival. So in this type of relationship, both organisms kind of have it rough because if any of them kind of slack, it could mean extinction because then the other one will just take all the resources and leave none for the other organism. So they both have to remain strong or fit for survival so that they never fall behind, so they always have access to the resources in the ecosystem, so they can always compete against the other guy who is a threat. Another example that's not animals. So sorry, I didn't say, but there's a lion and leopard. That's typical competition in the savannah. Um, this example, it's just a bunch of trees you at first sight, but really there's a lot of competition happening in this picture because the way plants compete is to see who grows the tallest. And this is important because the taller you grow, the more access you have to sunlight. And the more sunlight you have access to, the more energy you can have to do things like grow flowers, grow seeds, reproduce, spread more of your own species all over the forest. So the competition here is fierce, and that's why a lot of trees or plants in rainforests are trees, and the trees grow extremely tall, and it's because of the competition that exists between the plants in this ecosystem. If anyone knows about competition making you stronger or better, by if you like whether you like it or not, it's me. I used to play online games, and like Call of Duty, and so I know competition. Really, you gotta stay strong. You gotta stay fit. Otherwise, you basically get left behind. All right, and the last one, parasitism. Parasitism is a dark one, and it's sort of my favorite, but it describes a relationship where only one organism benefits, but at the cost or the expense of the other organism. So the other organism gets harmed, usually over time, um, and the one that's harming the organism is taking usually nutrition from the other organism. So, example of that is mosquitoes and humans. That's one that we can all relate to. The female mosquito drinks our blood uh, as a form of nutrition for her babies. Right before she lays her eggs, her eggs must be basically given a lot of blood because of the nutrition in our blood, and she'll drink our blood, leaving behind a horrible like itchy sort of bump. And that's not even the worst. Like that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is you could get a horrible parasite like malaria transferred to you from the mosquito, and malaria is a much worse parasite than mosquito. It's actually lethal. It could kill you. Then we have Ophiocordyceps and ants. Long story short, this fungus, it's this thing here, this fungus basically feeds off the nutrients inside of ants, and by doing so, it can wipe out entire colonies of ants. And to ensure that its own success, it sometimes turns ants into zombies, controlling their brains, forcing them to walk and die where other ants are, just so that the infection can spread, just so it can continue to spread to all the ants until there's no more ants around in that area. And then even worse, so it will continue. It will take whatever ants that are left, and then force them to or control them and like puppets and force them to move to other colonies and then start the infection all over again. Right, then the last one I'm looking at is Cymothea exigua, otherwise known as the tongue louse. It's this little guy in the fish's mouth, and he literally replaces the fish's tongue just so he can eat the fish's food. So quite a horrible example of parasitism, but a real one nonetheless. I hope that was interesting, and I hope that now you know a bit more about interdependence. Never stop learning. Till next time, Mr. Topkin out.